Hello everybody, welcome to the table. So today we have a new knife, and this one I picked up from Amazon of all places, kind of taking a risk. The brand is called Fintiso. Never heard of the brand before, but they did kind of impress me, at least with the packaging, of course. So if you need more details on this one, this is the G073. I believe they call this part of their Odyssey series of knives. But for a upstart, unknown knife company from Amazon of all places, it was kind of impressive packaging, you know, out of the box. A little flyer right here just talking about the company. And it makes it sound like they're actually going to stick around and, you know, keep making knives for what it's worth. So kind of cool to get that. We also get this little pouch, which is very Civivi-like in how they present things, even when you open it up to get to the knife itself. So of course we have the knife, we have a sticker they included with it, there is a cleaning cloth with the logo, which is always nice to have, and very impressive, they actually included some extra hardware with the knife. So there are a couple of pocket clip screws, and I assume one of the body screws there as well, which you might need later on, so you never know. But very impressive presentation for what is essentially an unknown Amazon brand. So that being said, is this knife any good? And for the price I paid for it, it was $30 on sale. Regular price is $49.99. This is a very competitive market, but let's take a look at what we have here. So, full-size everyday carry knife. Let's pull out the ruler and we can do some measurements. Our blade length right here from tip to handle is about 3¼ inches long. Overall length is just a little bit shy of 8 inches. So it gives you an idea of how large the knife is in hand. In terms of weight, it's actually not super heavy or anything. We have some aluminum scales, steel liners, and we're coming in, as you can see, about 4.3 ounces. So not too heavyweight for what it is. And I'm actually impressed with the build quality in that regard, because if you look inside the liners right there, again, I don't know if you can see that necessarily. Here, let me turn on some more lighting, get that for you. Here we go. But you can see they actually milled out the liners, which is really just a nice touch to see from a knife company in that they're thinking of keeping the weight down on a knife. But the aluminum scale, steel liners, we do have a deep carry pocket clip. It's single position only, but it is going to be right-hand side tip up carry, which is what most users generally prefer. Clip has no issues with retention. So, and you'll notice it's also flush with the handle, so the pocket screws do not protrude. So we're getting a lot of little fine details like that you may not get on inexpensive budget knives at the Amazon price range. So pretty cool. Even decorative features. Now, taking a look at the blade itself, we do see this is that gray titanium nitride style coating, basically like a gray paint. We have the logo on there, so we can see Fintiso logo. On the reverse side, we can see the blade steel marking right there. This is a 14C28N, which is actually really nice for a budget steel. A lot of knives at this price range are going to be using D2. Nothing wrong with that. Or it's going to be using one of the 8CR, 9CR steels or less. But 14C28N is very popular at the budget range, and a lot of knives are starting to using that now, which is great for what we're getting here. The handles are also kind of unique. First off, check out the pivot. We see we actually have, on a budget knife, we have a decorative pivot right there. So it has that F letter for Fintiso, and we can adjust it from the other end there. So decorative pivot, and the aluminum handles. The color is kind of what drew me to this, because in the images online, you do not get an accurate picture of what this knife looks like, but they call this gray-green, and so even on the box, yeah, so gray-green, and I suppose you could call it that, but it's a really cool, like a very subtle color, like a mixture of a gray-green. To me, it looks almost bluish, like a light tealish blue, but it's kind of like a translucent. Like in the sun, it looks really cool. It's a very striking color, very different from your run-of-the-mill knife. In fact, I don't think I have any other knives with a similar color pattern to this one. So for the unique aluminum handles, that alone was pretty cool, pretty worth it. So nice aluminum handles here, huge lanyard hole here at the back, so plenty of room if you do lanyards. It is a liner lock, as you can tell, and lockup is nice and early, so no issues with lockup. It's very tight. Centering is also excellent, because this blade does run on bearings, so it's very quick to actuate, broke in very quickly, and it's really just a fun knife to play around with. We can use the thumb studs, you can use the flipper. Really no issues with the action. As you can see, it's just very slick, very smooth, pretty well done. You know, it's like they took wrote a chalkboard of all the things that knives should have, and they managed to put it into this knife here at a budget price point. You know, holding on to the knife, you can see there is some jimping here on the spine of the blade. Very cool. Here on the rear end as well, on this back spacer, there is some jimping there. If you ever had to hold it in this position, I suppose that could work. And for a knife that is not super heavyweight, not super expensive, they're, again, checking off a lot of the boxes here. So they did a really good job on building this knife, providing extra materials and things like that to go with it. Really impressive for what is essentially an unknown brand out there. So I think they're looking to get their name out there. They have a few other models. This one, again, being called the Odyssey series. Comes in a few different colors and materials. But they have some other knives that look pretty nice as well. So I wouldn't hesitate to be buying a Fintiso knife if the price is right. So that being said, $50 not on sale, $49.99. With their coupon they had going, it's $29.99. And at that price, this is a really good deal. But at the $50 price point, probably not. There's a lot more competitive options at that point. A lot of other options in terms of quality and materials and steels. So not quite a deal at $50, but for that $29.99 price point, they're doing a lot right here. And you're not going to go wrong with this one. To give you an idea of the size of the knife, I do have some size comparisons. And so now these knives are not price comparisons by any means, but let me just put one up on the table. So we have a Spyderco Tenacious, so very common Spyderco brand. You can see, again, very similar in size to that. We also have the Benchmade Mini Griptilian. So there's a size comparison for you right there, giving an idea of what this Fintiso is kind of stacking up to. I can also find a budget option, something more within the ballpark price range of the Fintiso. So right here we have, let's see. So this right here is the CJRB. I think it's the Pyrite. But the Pyrite is also a nice budgety folder. Very similar price point as the Fintiso. CJRB, though, is more of a name brand at this point compared to a no-name brand. So, you're buying a little bit of that reliability, that warranty, so to speak, that comes with the higher cost as well. So, either way, I thought it would be fun just to take a look at this knife because it's a really well-built folder, to be perfectly honest with you. Only faults I would find with it is out of the box, some of the body screws, namely these two here at the end, they were loose. I had to tighten them down. It just takes a T6 Torx bit. Just make sure that they are torqued down a little bit. Because out of the box, I guess just from shipping and shuffling in the box, they got a little bit loose, and I noticed they were a few turns loose. And so if you didn't tighten them and just carry the knife, you may end up having one fall out. But that being said, they did go ahead and include, like I was showing you, so you might end up needing one of these screws if you don't tighten these screws down out of the box. The pocket clip screws were nice and tight. The pivot screw was nice and tight. It was just these two body screws. They just had to be tightened, and there's been no issue since then. So beyond that, though, there hasn't really been any issues with the knife. I love that they're kind of emulating Civivi with the little pouches, the cleaning cloth, going the whole 9 yards with that, and making the presentation of the knife extra special, because to me that means they're going the whole 9 yards and making people care about the brand and showing that they care about the brand. So I would recommend the knife. Again, I bought this with my own money, not sponsored at all. But if you have any questions, feel free to drop a comment below. Would love to hear your thoughts on this very unique, good-looking 14C 28N folder. But I hope you all have a nice day. See you later.